professor of quite a distinction, teaching at a couple of places, Montclair and Rutgers as well, advising Greg Schiano on how he can cover a couple of point spreads, and also performing on Scripps TV. Welcome back to the show. Well, one of our favorite and a member of the Degenerate Brethren, one of our favorites, the great Len Robbins joins us here on the program. Len, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. You got the intro wrong a little. It's not Rutgers, it's Rikers.
Well, appropriate, I guess, especially with what's going on in the world today.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, and we have the great Mike Lubitz ready for the weekend. You look bright, you look happy, you look fit, you look trim, and full of all kinds of energy and excitement for what lies ahead. This is great. Good to be with you guys. Halloween, anything happen, Lubie, of any significance on Halloween?
Yeah. My nephews came over. My neighborhood, like I've talked about in the past, is like a throwback. People actually decorate their houses like it's Christmas, and there's kids from all over this neighborhood. A lot of people from other neighborhoods come here, and I didn't realize it started so early. Like I went to get food, and the place was fucking jammed. I didn't get back till like 6 something, and there was already kids walking around. It was actually something to behold. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time, and people seemed to get along. People seemed to really enjoy themselves. So I enjoyed it, and it was a nice break from all the, as they say, Michigas that is sitting out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the rhetoric just has been ratcheted up significantly. I mean, how dumb are people, really? You listen, Joe Biden has been, there's a reason he's not running again for president.
Bingo.
So to make this just outrageously large issue out of the fact that, and anybody that speaks to somebody that sort of like losing it upstairs, you don't take every word they say literally, right? You know what the guy meant, right? He wasn't calling people garbage. That's never been the guy's style. So now this is the big thing, because it's sort of, at least in the eyes of the Republicans, offsets all of the stuff that Trump says, which he's been saying for 10 years.
Yes.
And before that, I mean, we already knew where this guy was coming
Trump,
from.
you just said it. Trump's the candidate. Biden's not. Biden's also explained it. And Harris denounced it. Harris openly said, now is not talking. That's what the one thing I'll give the Dems credit is they don't.
She actually turned to her aides and said, "Who the fuck let that guy out of the house?"
She openly denounced
Biden,
it.
not Trump. Yeah,
the only ones trying to bring it up are the Republicans.
It's amazing.
The thing that's worse for them is, as they try to bring that up again, people play other clips of him using that, the candidate using that exact same word in even more egregious fashion, and he meant it and never walked it back. But he then says crazier shit. So that's the problem for the Republicans is like, no, it's worse. Really? Okay, don't worry. Liz Cheney, I'm going to find you and we're going to kill you. Like, that's the problem for the Republicans. And then that's why it sort of worked in 16. It didn't work in 20. And now it's not working. The independents, undecideds, and all the people voting don't want this anymore. They've openly said they don't want divisiveness. They want unity. Harris has heard them. Trump hasn't. And that's where I think this election stands. And that's why everyone that's I'm nervous. I'm worried. I'm not scared. Everyone that's scared, I think you're not looking at reality. You're skipping the last 3 elections. You're skipping what's happening in this election because you're letting your emotion cloud the actual reality. Like the Dems have heard what the people want and are catering to it. The Republicans haven't. The Republicans are actually spitting in the electorate's face, saying, we don't give a shit what you want. Trump literally just said this 2 days ago to women who are literally going to kick his ass out of the office, kick his ass out of politics, kick his ass into prison. The way women are voting, and it's not for Trump. They ain't voting.
No. I mean, I know many women that I have great respect for. They're
voting
Trumpsters.
numbers are not for Trump.
I'm baffled by it. I don't understand how a single woman, after grabbing by the pussy and all of the different assault charges, and the one in which he was civilly found culpable for attacking a woman who he denied even knowing who she was, in the Bergdorf Goodman dressing room. I mean, please, would you stop at nothing?
Yeah,
it's not like he, I mean, he goes right into some department store and he's assaulting a woman sexually.
What do you mean? He was when and that's the problem for Trump too. Not only does this shit, he brags about it. When he was with the the fuck is Miss America or Miss Universe?
Oh yeah, that whole thing
He's
too.
going into and these are some of them are like underage, like he did Miss Teen Universe, and he's like going into the dressing room while they're dressing, and they're supposed to just keep going, and he brags about it. Like,
A lecherous, classless prick, basically, is what we're talking about here. I mean, with regard to women, so I can't comprehend for a second how a single woman could. I mean, I don't understand. Look, I know people want to vote for him. They think Kamala's weak, and the Democrats are way off
That's not
base, and
why
they're giving
they're
money away, and they're letting illegal immigrants live in fancy hotels, and all of this shit. I understand all of that, and there would be reason to be concerned about it, depending on what level of truth you think is being depicted. And nobody knows for sure, right? I mean, one side says this, the other side says that. Fine, and we don't tell anybody who to root for in sports. I was never one of these guys who said, you got to get out there and root for them fucking Dolphins. No, you don't. I don't care. If you came from New England or New York and you're down here, and that was a big thing in sports talk radio for a long time, Lubie. You caught some of that. Well, you know what? You're here now. You should be rooting for our fucking teams. I don't know that you have to, and I can't imagine that anybody should be in a position where they tell you what team you should like or not like. So I guess it would be applicable to candidates if there was some level of equality, even in the quality of the character of the people that are involved in this presidential race. But the fact that it's airtight, according to whatever polls are being published, is baffling to me. It really is. I mean, especially with this last couple of weeks that we've seen, where the Trumpster has reverted back to, as Kamala was saying, just revealing exactly who he is. I mean, when you're recommending that a former U.S. Congresswoman is to be taken out and shot like she was Gary Gilmore in Utah, you got to be fucking kidding me.
yeah, no, I mean, like,
What kind of thing is that for anybody that's going to be running the country that is supposed to represent freedom and opportunity and all of this stuff? And you're saying, hey, because I don't like this woman, she should be taken out and shot? Get the fuck out of here.
that's the positive.
Joking or not, I mean, it's just not something you should say.
It's not positive, but that's the takeaway. And even the mainstream media who tries to force in stuff from the Harris side to make it look like it's an even campaign. Every day he then says something crazier. So it's like, you sure?
It's hard to keep up with the insanity.
The stuff he said today is about women. Like, women are voting in all the swing states outside of Nevada, which is like negative one.
What is the need to protect women that Trump keeps talking about? Protect from what? I mean, if he hadn't torn down the abortion laws by putting these three stiffs on the Supreme Court, then they would have at least what freedoms they had before.
He's not protecting them. That's why when he says it using rape language, he's not. I'm going to protect you even if you don't want it. That's not protection. That's rape. Like, he's not protecting.
There's a little bit of a history there. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, he doesn't want to.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that's a few days away. Meshuggah. So maybe it was a nice departure.
Yes.
I didn't see any trick-or-treaters. Came across nobody, not even a little kid in a costume. This thing was wearing a little bit of an outfit last night. She was like Batgirl or something, as she did her shift at Fishtails, which I would imagine, judging by the clientele at Fishtails, that party was probably, I don't want to say it was out of control. I mean, it's not like it's chaos, but it had to be pretty wild, the party at Fishtails last night. So there were parties all over the place. Now, does that continue or is it over? This weekend, nobody's doing Halloween parties. You would have had to do them last weekend. Right?
I feel like a lot of people did it last weekend. I don't know. I haven't been in a Halloween party scene in a long time. Like my friends and we don't do that.
I'm a fan of Halloween parties for some reason.
College was great. Look, it was an excuse for women to be this slutty thing or this dirty thing. So as a college dude, heterosexual college dude, it was a wonderful holiday. But that was,
you've been quantifying a lot of stuff by the fact of heterosexuality lately.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if you like dudes, then women dressed half naked isn't going to do anything for you. That's what I'm say. Like, as a guy in college, the Florida Georgia game, even though I'm a FSU fan,
that was a great depiction of it by you, by the way.
Was fantastic.
You made me want to go.
It fell right around Halloween as it is this year. So that Friday, they would dress up, and it was amazing. And again, at Florida State, there was this toga party, that Halloween. So Halloween was amazing as a college student. I mean, since then, the people in my life don't do Halloween parties. They have kids and shit, and they do trick or treating, and then they go to bed.
I've been to a few. Been a long time. I didn't mind missing it yesterday, and I was glad nobody knocked on my door. Not one single
Not
door
one.
knock.
Wow, man, we had a
No.
lot. We set up camp. My neighborhood people literally set up outside and like,
Used to get a few at the old household.
I mean, you're the house here.
Yeah. Kids would go through the neighborhood there and knock on every door. Now, have you ever gone ahead and committed to the so-called honor system because you didn't feel like getting up every 3 seconds and answering the
We
door
did
to a
last
bunch
year.
of drooling little kids?
Last year we let them take
And
what
you
they
leave the
want.
bucket out there and it says, please, by
Take
the
one.
honor system, take one. And you know the first guy that comes along, some fat kid's going to dump all of the candy into his bag and get the hell out of here and, leave like some wrappers and that's all that's left.
They leave that-
And the next 20 parties that come around, they're disappointed. And then they're banging on your door and ringing your bell and saying, hey, what the fuck, man? I know you're home. I just put a sign out, nobody home. Don't even bother. Or, I could put Skippy by the front door. That would shake a lot of people up, no doubt about it. Because, even though he's the sweetest dog on the planet, at first meaning, not exactly the friendliest, right? Maybe a little bit abrasive by human standards. All right, so we got through Halloween. Now we get to the weekend here, and we have a bunch of stuff going on.
Yes.
We will have the professor coming up later on with a big board and some college football plays. Professor locked into several games so far this week. We had a conversation on our License to Steal show yesterday, and the professor feeling pretty good about himself, which is good, right? I mean, he's never in the weeds for long in terms of losses. So he had a little streak there where it wasn't good and has bounced back nicely. Always the logic is pristine. That's the thing that you look for. You respect a guy who actually knows what the fuck he's talking about, right?
For sure.
I mean, even if they're off on a couple of games, look, nobody's going to be perfect in this regard.
No.
I'm looking at a few things, though. I mean, if you could identify the teams that are going to be shit early in the season, you could be making just massive scores, right? Who thought the Finns were going to be 1-6 against the spread this year so far? 1-6 in their 7 games, equally as putrid as the Titans, and only a half a game better in terms of futility than the Carolina Panthers, who are in at 1-7 now. You could have been betting against Carolina all year long. You'd be up 6 units. What's wrong with that, Lubie? If you wanted to have a winning season and you did nothing else
This year,
betting against Carolina, you're up 6 units already. So if your average unit is $1,000 or whatever, that sounds a little rich, DeForest. If you're betting 100, you're up 600 for the season. Now, how are you doing otherwise? Well, betting like massive parlays and all kinds of games and 10 games on the board, you're probably getting clobbered, no? Like the rest of the world. So there was a surefire way. Discipline, is that what is missing for every degenerate, Lubie? I always admired the disciplined gamblers that didn't just bet for the sake of betting. Why would I admire them, though, when I could never be one of them? I guess that's why, right?
That way, exactly.
You admire people who can do things that you couldn't even conceive of doing, even though you know it's the right way to go about your business. So if you could have identified this, now the Lions, surprisingly, you would think the Lions would be overbet this year. Coming out of last year, they make the NFC title game, but for a couple of really dumb coaching maneuvers, they might have won that game and gone to the Super Bowl, and who knows what could have happened there. Could they have beaten the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Yeah, of course. Chiefs, weren't the Chiefs are the winningest team that doesn't look like it should be even 500. And it's not just Mahomes, because Mahomes is not playing great this year.
Nah, he's playing in.
But the Lions are 6-1. Surprisingly, they can't make spreads big enough for people to back out of betting the Lions, and they're covering all the time. Washington would be a surprise team. I don't know that you and the professor were not big Jaden Daniels fans.
No. The way he's played, he's actually been very impressive. Like especially as a rookie on a team that didn't have a lot. You're drafting the top 3. There's a reason. Like I didn't think he didn't have talent. I just didn't think he'd last. He's thin. He depends on the run a lot. And that combination usually gets a quarterback friggin' murdered. So far, so good for him. He's been special. And they may not only win that conference, that division, they run away with it.
6-1-1 against the spread. They really should decide the standings by the spreads, shouldn't they? Straight up shouldn't even count, especially in this age of FanDuel TV and gambling taking over virtually everything. The Colts are 7-1. Is that possible? The Colts are 7-1 against the spread.
Maybe against the spread. They're not 7-1.
No, but 7-1 against the spread. Broncos have been a team that I got on a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. Are they not viable this week? They're getting a ton of points in a game against the Ravens on the road. Broncos getting 8 and a hook. against the Ravens. Are the Ravens that good that they should be laying 8.5 against a Broncos team that has held up really, really well defensively and has been putting enough points on the board? What do they have? A Bo Nix quarterbacking? But they've been scoring enough to actually be a winning team, 6-2 against the point spread, and the Steelers are 6-2 against the spread. Mike Tomlin, you can never discount this guy for some reason. I don't know how he does it. Never had a losing season. Can you believe that?
No, never. And even years
Never.
we're like well under 500.
Even Shula couldn't say that.
And
Shula
had a good quarterback in years now. Roethlisberger. It's been a while since Roethlisberger was actually Roethlisberger, and they somehow, no matter what, they revamp defenses, revamp offensive lines. They find a way to at least be competitive and contend, which look at the Bengals. The Bengals have all this talent. They got a year to 2 years out of it. And the last 2 years has been last year, Burrow's hurt. This year he's healthy and they just suck.
They're playing for their lives this week against the Raiders again. They've been playing for their lives on the ropes since week number 2. But when they started out the season, what did they start? 0-2, I think, before.
3-5, though. 3-5 is not great.
Well, when they won 3 of their next 4 and they lost last week. So, a mystery how they could lose with that. But you could say the same thing about the game we have to get to, Lubie. Buffalo and Miami. That used to be the biggest deal. How come I keep saying this? Is it just because I'm out of touch, Lubie? I mean, I still talk to people. I see people around town. People still remember the zillions of hours of sports talk that we all did together. And where we discuss these things quite frequently. And one of the big topics forever, what was this Dolphins-Bills rivalry? There was excitement. You were analyzing matchups. You were thinking, hey, can Louis Oliver stop anybody? Besides having the ability to decapitate somebody, but nonetheless, as good of a guy as he was, he had a little aura to him, Louis Oliver, did he not? Louis Oliver, the former Gator great.
He was the one guy that would make plays versus the Bills.
Yeah.
The rest, like J.B. Brown, and he played for the Dolphins.
Number 37, J.B. Brown.
He always was. You always talk about he always getting burnt.
How do I know his number? Because we always saw his back.
He was always chasing Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, lost.
Yeah. You'd see the number and the name, and you go 37, J.B. Brown.
I don't
Casey
remember
Stegel's number.
I remember the entire Bills team, and I remember J.B. Brown and Louis Oliver because Oliver made the 107-yard interception return. And one of the, I think they won a couple times in that era. And J.B. Brown was always chasing the guy, always.
Yeah. Lofton.
Thurman Thomas. It looked like Jim Brown when he played the top.
Andre Reed. My God. How the fuck did we ever win a game against those guys?
We didn't. We didn't win a lot. I'm telling you.
I just have to pump those up, Lubie. You were lucky. You missed that time. But it was fun because at least it was the same thing like we were talking about the other night. Heat Knicks are playing.
Yeah.
It would normally have been a buzz around town. You'd see a bunch of guys in Heat jerseys, right? Hawkes Jr. and anybody else that they could buy the jersey. I don't. Are jerseys sold at a premium based on the level of popularity of the player, or are they just all the same price? Like if you buy a Jovic jersey, does it cost you as much as, say, Tyler Hero?
I mean, a lot of times there's jerseys on clearance, so is in a different place than Jimmy Butler.
The Rowinski jerseys are, you got to blow the dust off them there and send one to Ron Rothstein for Christmas. That would be it. But is that gone, or am I just missing something here, Lubie? I mean, if I tune in the Big O show, would I hear a bunch of psychotic fans calling and going, "We gotta beat the fuck out of the Bills. We gotta beat the fuck out of them"?
No, the Dolphins. Even if we were good, like early in the year, remember there was a big game. They would tell what the Dolphins were. Tua hadn't gotten hurt yet. It still was,
and they already played. I mean, and there's no buzz whatsoever about revenge or any of this shit. I mean,
it's just different.
The Bills stomped on the Dolphins in week number 2. Tua got hurt, and it sent the season spiraling southward in a way that I don't even know that, in the nightmares of Chris Greer he could have anticipated. No,
look in that era, even if the Bills would beat us more times than we'd like, the games were still interesting, and the Dolphins were a legit contender. Maybe we weren't going to win anything, but we were a playoff team every year, and there was that 1 year that we really felt like we had a shot, that we lost to the Bills. Like, it was different. The Dolphins haven't been that since then. So, even when the Dolphins look like they're good, Mike Mayo's not the only one that has that sentiment about the Dolphins. Like, Dolphins fans do have that in the back of their mind. Like, how are we gonna fuck this up? Like that's just
Mayo had too many incidents with the Dolphins when he was a reporter, and there was a lot of. It sounded like there was not just acrimony; there was like flat out hostility
no, it was hostility.
between the team
Both sides,
and Mike Mayo.
100%.
Was that a result of having your words in print as opposed to? I mean, people would hear. Look, if anybody should have been absolutely despised by the Miami Dolphin organization, it might have been us, and yet they loved us, Lubie. How crazy is that? Where literally, and there lately have been a bunch of tributes to Jason Jenkins. I've seen. I guess there was an event there in his honor. The former vice president of communications for the Miami Dolphins, and I didn't know him well. I mean, I knew him well enough. He was always very cordial to me. But I'll still never forget when he told me that the defensive coordinator wanted to meet me, and I thought, oh shit. I'm not up for this, Lubie. I really don't feel like having some guy curse me out before I get on the air and trying to make people happy in the morning, right? It's what your job is to entertain people. Maybe, an otherwise dreary ride to work. Was that concept still in play when we were doing radio, or had it already flown the coop where, you got 15 minutes maybe to catch somebody's attention and say something worthwhile. So we threw a lot of shit out there, and some of it wasn't particularly flattering when the Dolphins were giving up 50 points a game. And so I thought, wow, this is going to be a disaster. And they loved us. It was crazy. But if you wrote that shit and it was sitting there on the guy's desk,
we
or he
would
was
joke.
eating it while
We would joke. You would have me there laughing.
Yeah.
You would laugh. Like Mayo can be funny, but the way
no, he's dead serious. Yeah.
The way Mayo describes the way he wrote those things, remember he grew up in New York like you did, where you went to LA and you became radio. He grew up in the New York world where you're a journalist and you break, especially with sports. They're fucking tough.
Oh yeah.
Sports. They don't give a shit, and they say dumb shit a lot too. New York reporters. So Mayo was in that guise where he would be one of the guys openly willing to poke the bear. We weren't doing that. We were just having fun. We always were. Even if we were giving someone shit, we still laugh about it. Like Mayo does the stuff. Mayo told us some of the stuff he said. It's like, oh, I wouldn't say that.
Well, I mean, even in reviewing these restaurants, look, we walked into Wicked Cheesesteaks, and he had panned the key lime pie that Brian's wife makes.
For a restaurant.
Not knowing it, I mean, because he was writing a bad review about the restaurant in general, and so he went ahead and just eviscerated. I mean, totally, tore apart this key lime pie, and it turned out one of our friends ended up being the chef behind it.
Yes,
but the word still stung, right? They still had the article, right? They had the clip.
What do you mean, Ken? And he just joined, so I'm not talking down his back. And again, it's like I remember I was weird with Mayo when Mayo first came on because I met him at some food thing, and he wasn't a jerk, but he had this air about him, and it's an air I've come to understand.
Insufferable.
There's definitely an air to him. We just now make fun of that air. But he wrote something about, and he liked the Foundry, as we found out later. But he wrote.
He panned the Foundry?
He didn't pan it. He wrote something, and again, as a restaurateur, and it was early in the early days, especially in the early days. We know restaurants in South Florida, you got to hit. If you don't hit, as we're seeing with some of our friends that we do shows with Mayo, you can be in trouble. So he wrote something, and he later explained it. So he wasn't even trying to. But Ken told me what he said, and I was like, "Oh Jesus!"
You have to applaud any successful restaurant, for sure.
I mean, Ken's here. I'll bring him on, but that's like what Mayo did and still does.
What did Mayo say, Professor? Do you remember?
He made jokes about the name. I think was something. I honestly.
Oh, the way it looked. They remember they have.
Oh yeah, he didn't like the theme. He didn't like the theme,
and
he didn't like the name, and whatever. I honestly, and I like Mayo. Prior to actually going to, I didn't know anybody actually paid attention to those things.
No, people take it
honestly,
dead seriously.
Like when movies come out and you read the movie reviews, like everybody always hates like the Marvel movies, and customers don't give a flying fuck what critics have to say. So I didn't know when it came to food.
Food, though, it can be a kiss of death. Yeah.
I mean, apparently that's the case, but honestly, I personally had no idea anybody. I thought critics were like, critics and everything else. Everybody reads it because, what kind of jerk off wrote this? Because honestly, while I love the sports page, I was one of the early adopters on like, who the fuck reads a newspaper? Like,
You're talking to him.
There you go.
Isn't it?
I literally every morning I hear the guy cursing in Spanish as he
I
drives
mean,
away
like,
because
you
I'm
know,
getting this delivery.
again, I get. I don't mean to say this to be offensive, but you are part of, like, not age-wise, chronologically speaking, but mentality-wise, part of the oldest group in America in horse players. Because, like, I mean, the daily racing form. Who the fuck else spends like $10 for a newspaper
12.
every day?
Yeah.
Like,
Why do
I
you think
think the
I
people-
don't mind schlepping down the Gulf Stream every
I
Friday?
think the people at the track spend more per week on newspapers than the rest of the country does per year or per decade at this point.
Oh, it's nuts. See, I just like I can't have a bowel movement without one. And I mean, I mean, people know that already.
Like I said, not chronologically the oldest,
Yeah.
but spiritually the oldest.
But I do like having everything right in front of me. Just I mean, you flip the page, you're on to the next topic or whatever, and it's all right here, very concise.
So
The Post too is a very degenerate directed newspaper.
the deal is, when we first started working with Mayo, I mentioned it to one of my partners, and she was like, "That guy? Do you remember what he wrote about us in the Sentinel?" And I very naturally said, "The Sentinel reviewed us? I had no idea."
There's a guy though, and
I'm like most Americans, I haven't given a shit what's been in the newspaper in like 20 years.
It depends on the level of influence. Yeah, man. Maybe the times have changed, so certainly a newspaper writer would not
I
be
think
as
literally
consequential
that was
as
it,
they would have
was
been in the
when
past.
the guy at the New York Times got caught writing the fake stories. What was that, like 10 or 15? Jason Blair or something like that? And that's like 10 or 15 years old at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Guy in L.A. though, very influential. You know how the Broadway show people, they can't wait for the reviews to come out, like they're on pins and needles, hoping that the critics like their show, and it can make or break a Broadway show.
No, because
one
like
day.
all other American males, I don't know shit about what goes on Broadway.
Yeah, but I mean, you'll see anytime you see interviews with these people.
Newspapers and musicals, you're hitting all the buttons this morning.
All right, in our wheelhouse.
There was a guy, I remember in this fancy restaurant in L.A., the guy had invested a ton of money. It was kind of a soft, quiet opening there first couple of weeks. And then this guy, Elmer Dills, the L.A. Times food critic, did his review, rated it as being spectacular. There was never an empty seat from that night on. It was unbelievable. How that influenced people to come to this place that you couldn't even recognize as being a restaurant. If you passed by it, you would have thought, what the fuck is that? It looked like something the CIA would have set up.
See, and I think the opposite. I think of it like the movie Chef, where Jon Favreau insults some food critic and then gets to bang Scarlett Johansson and Sofia Vergara. So
there you go. The words still sting with people.
Seems like that's the route to go.
Yeah. But Mayo stuck with, Lubie brought it up. He still remembers it. You, of course, remember what he was talking about. So it couldn't have been any.
I've actually read it to this day. No, I don't actually remember what he was talking about, but it did. There was a thing.
I just find it funny knowing him.
He usually has to find something wrong. I don't think he feels right about a place unless he finds something wrong with it.
100%.
I've never known him to ever talk about a place and say, you know what, 100% top notch. There couldn't possibly.
I mean, I have, but it was Skyline fucking Chili.
Yeah, Chili.
That was the only place.
How do you respect that?
It shreds all credibility. I mean, it just shreds it.
Actually, I got to say, since we're basically bashing the shit out of him,
no, not really. This is just a character portrait.
He owns all of this.
I got to counter and say, I actually have found that Mayo is a dude who, being a food critic, I actually find myself agreeing, with culinary stuff a lot more, because he's one of those guys who understands to take things in his own settings. Like he goes out to all the fancy places and, snores, eats for free or whatever.
I think he secretly hates that food.
And, gives it, review and course, but he also, with like a common place, be it like a place like Grandpa's that does, breakfast food, or pizza places or whatever. He takes everything in context of, what kind of joint they actually are, which is great because, you need the full spectrum within the business.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, even the fast food, but
going old school radio where you would be talking about a coach and then Jimmy Johnson would call in. We have the one and only Mike Mayo.
Oh, he wants to defend himself here?
I saw that coming.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Mayo. What do you have to say for yourself?
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Of all people who, like, if you're going to dish it out, you should be able to take it. Ken, Mr. He punches. Well, he doesn't punch down. He punches.
He punches up as well as anyone.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to take it. I'm just complimenting you.
Just defending you.
You said you're well rounded in spite of being who you are.
He's the one that was defending you, actually.
No,
Yeah.
first of all, I gave the Foundry a positive 3 out of 4 stars, which means it's recommended. It gets listed into the. We have our back when we actually had a Friday weekend Showtime section. It got listed in the dining roundup, and that's always worth something. But no, I was just making fun of the fact that you're going to create a motif around like industrial foundry, and as I noted, I was like, Pompano Beach was well known for its iron and steel mills back in the day.
Oh, okay. So we should have done another fucking place with fish on the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not enough of those.
Why don't we put some seashells up and a couple of starfish?
Hang up some fucking Guy Harvey T-shirts and a mounted dolphin. That's exactly.
Get the fuck out of here.
South Florida needed more of that.
It just seemed. Look, it was original. I'll give it that. I like that mural, that famous whatever that is, the photo of all the workers eating their lunch on the steel beam. But the fact that you were going for recreating the halcyon, iron belt days of Pomp just didn't make any sense to me. But that's okay. Place is still there. A great burger.
And that was the point. It was a good review, but yet you still remember.
You had to throw some
things that bothered you.
Snarky comment in there just to leave your signature on it, man.
Your Mayo.
Anyway, we have to get to some games, Mayo Man. We'll give you a chance to retaliate, on your own show. I would imagine it'll be a burial of the professor. So there you have it, as Gordon Soley would say. We got the guy out of the woodwork there, but all right, we got to get to some stuff.
You two were trying to get me and Mayo to start.
No,
not at all. That had nothing to do with it.
It was just I was trying to point out the thing that Defo was before you came on. Defo was talking about as great. We love Mayo, but he always going back to his Dolphins days. He doesn't mind poking the bear. Like that was just sort of his thing. Where even when he does good reviews, he always has to zits. He has to throw a little. But that's just
I mean, he nearly got in a fist fight with Brian Cox for something he said. Shula hated him. Stu Weinstein was instructed not to let Mayo anywhere near the food.
The entire organization still hates him.
So we were just sort of saying the reason it came up is because his view of the Dolphins is tainted by these incidents.
You're talking to a guy who briefly worked with Al Lombardo, who, as far as I know, was the only reporter who was actively banned from Dolphins press conference.
Mayo was close to that kind of.
Because he hated
he was with a more respectable organization. Otherwise, they would have thrown him out too.
Okay.
All right, let's get to some games, Professor. What do we got? What do we got for this week?
We got a game tonight. The Friday night has been good to us, so we're going to keep rolling with that. And we're taking USF -2.5 over Florida Atlantic. Game time decision, but it looks like Brown will be back for USF, which should make in their difference in their offense. Although the overall numbers are strikingly similar between these two, USF's has come against a much better schedule than Florida Atlantic. And again, I'm not trying to pile on to the local guys because we actually thought at the beginning of the year Florida Atlantic might be notably improved, but it has been rough going for Tom Herman and Boca Raton. Seems like things have gone south on them a little bit this year, particularly what thought to be a pretty decent defense has turned out to be very much not for FAU, and I think that'll be the key here. I think USF's pacing will catch up with FAU, much like North Texas's did a couple of weeks back. So we'll take the Bulls -2.5 to kick off the weekend.
All right, USF playing 2 and a hook against FAU. FAU's been getting clobbered lately. You're looking at Illinois once again. In what capacity here, Professor?
In the capacity that we made a mistake on Oregon last week, although they did have a couple opportunities at that big number to cover that game, even though they didn't. But a mystery line, I guess you call it. I have no idea why Minnesota would be favored on the road at Illinois. This one
Still ranked.
a super head scratcher to me. All I can say is, the betting public has hated Illinois from the drop. They were underdogs to Michigan on their home field a couple weeks ago, one straight up. I see no reason why they won't win this one straight up. Again, a spread of total head scratcher to me. Kind of a reversal. I would make the line Illinois about -3 or 4. Instead, you're getting 3 or 4 on your home field. We like the Illini. We like BLM. I see no reason why this number should be where it is. And we'll take the Illini plus the points.
All right, so we have Illinois +3 against Minnesota. The Gophers going down there. Ole Miss and Arkansas.
Ole Miss and Arkansas, classic look by spot, was 8 yesterday, now sitting at 7.5. Ole Miss, as we talked about on another show, reeks of looking past this one, as Lane Kiffin spent the week complaining about the kickoff time that was issued by the networks between Georgia and Ole Miss, instead of focusing on the fact he has to go to Fayetteville and get a win. This is a look past spot that caught Tennessee in their trap. Arkansas has actually been remarkably good against the spread most of the year. Don't see why that would change here. Like the Arkansas defense in particular, they're good against the pass and somewhat balanced. Also, pretty good against a run game of Ole Miss has been pretty anemic this year. So laying above touchdown, really on the road in the SEC in general, I don't see Ole Miss as that kind of profile. But against an Arkansas team that already has a big head on the wall in Tennessee on their home field, don't know why the Hogs wouldn't repeat it. Arkansas plus showing now 7.5, was 8 yesterday.
Nice.
So that tells you maybe get it today before it goes back down to 7 or less.
Yep.
All right. Taking Arkansas over Ole Miss. Ole Miss was annihilating people early in the season, but what level of talent were they playing?
Conference play started, yes.
Yeah. Now they're
last month.
Very, very vulnerable, of course. And you're looking at UCF this week and Arizona.
Oh, Jesus.
I ain't looking at UCF side of the equation. As we said on another show, Deef, this is one we should have taken last week. Again, sort of mirroring last night's NFL game where the Jets, everybody was like, why the hell are the Jets favored? And why are the Jets favored? Well, if you saw that call on 4th down in the 4th quarter, the Jets are favored because had some guys in striped shirts playing.
Oh, really? Oh, God, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it was a crucial call when the Jets were down 10-7. A phantom call on 4th down.
Oh, God.
Led the Jets to a win in a big spot there. Anyway, similar last week, we should have taken BYU, where everybody was head scratching while UCF was laying points. We passed on that because the line looked kind of suspicious to me.
Annihilated them.
And so what happened? BYU went in and kicked their ass. Not going to make that mistake twice in a row. This one, UCF 1-5 in their last 6, laying 6 to Arizona. Not that Arizona, like BYU, is a solid football team. Arizona is a wildly disappointing football team. But they match up well with a UCF team that does not defend the pass well at all. Look for Fafita and why am I blanking on his name? The wide McMillan. The guy, the Hawaiian guy with the Irish name, which little strange combination.
He's Samoan, yeah.
Yeah, look for them to get back on track with at least a cover, if not a straight up win, going to a UCF team whose pass defense has been absolutely miserable to this point this year. Arizona plus the 6.
Okay, the professor with a quartet here. USF laying 2.5. Illinois getting 3. Arkansas getting 8 points, and Arizona plus the 6 against an overrated UCF team. All right, are we ready for it, Lubie?
Oh, I just laughed. This is great.
Well, that's very
topical.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, we don't have to even unveil number 1. We would know what that one was.
Maybe 5, honestly.
It could be, yeah, I guess. Here we go. Big board of the worst sports statues of all time. Very, very popular
it's been
topic.
Something that's talked about quite a bit on sports radio and in the news this week, particularly down here in Miami, where Dwayne Wade's tough post-playing career continues with the unveiling of whatever the fuck that it was in front of the Miami Arena. Needless to say, that will be making appearance. So we'll just save a description of that until we get there, and give you our big board of the worst sports statues of all time.
There we go.
And that takes us to number 5, which is soccer player Mo Salah. For those who are unfamiliar, is Liverpool star striker.
Oh my God!
And had a statue made from him in his home country of Egypt, where he's by far and away the biggest star in the history of Egyptian soccer. But instead of focusing on that, again, the country of Egypt decided to make him look into a troll doll. And I have no idea what the fuck this is.
That's creepy as fuck.
The legs are great, yeah.
That's so creepy.
For a giant star, instead of living under a bridge, they built him a statue he could live inside a cup with his weird giant afro and stubby little legs.
Why is that?
It looks like Art Garfunkel meets Sky Low Low. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, honestly, and from someone who himself has curly hair and knows it can be rough in the morning, this is the kind of thing that'll make you go get a fucking haircut.
That's a head
Look
shaver.
at this and be like, God damn, now I got to go get a buzz cut.
Rogaine, no thanks. I don't want any more of this.
Plus, I gotta say, like, if you're a Semitic person, don't you hear enough nose jokes that their fucking statue has got to look like they're trying to make fun of you with that fact?
Yes.
I mean, imagine at the unveiling, the shock. Wow,
right?
That's a wild one.
Imagine
if that's only number 5. I can't wait to see where this goes.
His legs like that.
Yeah. Yes, not necessarily a complimentary. I mean, you're the greatest player in the history of your nation, and soccer's a big fucking deal there. Yeah. You don't think your statue is going to look like something they put out on the street to scare children in?
It's classic. All right, that's number 5, man, at the bottom of the list.
That takes us to number 4, which the Washington Nationals built as part of their stadium back in, I believe it was 2008. And that is Walter Jansen's pitching statue, which
what the fuck?
Less like a pitching motion and more like
what is that?
Furiously masturbating while getting ready to take a squat.
Talk about a rag arm, man. What the hell is that?
I don't know what that. And even his grandson, by the way, has made an issue and said that's not my grandfather's pitching motion at all. No kidding. Yeah. That's your grandfather getting ready to jerk one out to relieve the day. I don't know what the hell that was supposed to be. But this was not a good idea and not particularly complimentary.
Remember the old school pitching machines, where the arm, before they had the little wheel that just fired the ball, and they had the arm kind of like slowly, gradually coming around, and then that's what it looks like. Looks like the guy who was commissioned to do this statue based it on one of those old pitching machines, no?
No, it looks like the guy who commissioned this statue watched the media night at Dania Highlight. And was like, let's take Defo's broken throwing motion to the Sesto. No, I already said
that could be that. Very, very
like
accurate.
Pitching machine. It looks like a jerk off.
It
looks like the thing Howard Stern makes porn chick ride in studio.
It's ugly, no doubt about it. And then what's that sticking out there? Is it a torn sleeve? What is that?
That's what,
that's the continuation of the arm thing.
Motion. That's supposed to show motion.
I see. Okay.
They're trying to show motion in the statue.
It's not a pitching motion.
Looks like they had some leftover bronze.
What are they doing with this? This is so weird.
What is that, man? Is he wearing an animal on his shoulder?
I'm so confused by this whole thing.
Yeah. All right, that's a classic. Pitching motion or masturbatory activity.
Number 4. Number 3 is one, honestly, that I feel the worst about, because the man is known, of course, as one of the the great human beings and the great humanists who has been part of the world of sports, and that is the Arthur Ashe statue in front of Flushing Meadows, New York, which looks like Arthur Ashe is less a tennis hero and more a cult leader who is telling a small group of children, read my book or I'll beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's what is going on with this.
Does it again? Less Arthur Ashe, more Jim Jones vibe going on.
Yeah.
This statue. a guy who was renowned as a great guy who wanted to bring education and
Yes,
the
of
sports
course.
world into his own community, and more batshit insane cult leader vibes.
Yeah. I
With
mean, you
the
can see him, a
Arthur
little
Ashe.
balloon coming out of his mouth saying, I'm here to protect women, whether you like it or not.
It looks like
Yeah.
it looks like they're begging for food, and he's like, "Shut the fuck up! I fed you
looks
last
a-
week. God damn it!"
Looks a little like Larry the Leaper at the track after a particularly ugly and unnecessary disqualification.
I told you all we would have is soybeans and water for this week.
What statue is this? Of Arthur Ashe.
Like I said,
Yeah, it doesn't make you think of Arthur Ashe, the humble,
right.
distinguished gentleman that he was.
Read my book or I will smack you with the racket.
What statue is this? Oh my god!
All right, that's classic, man.
Looks less like Arthur Ashe, well-known tennis player, was taken from us tragically way
Really,
too
yeah.
soon. More like Mormon weirdo, grooming his
Yeah.
sister-in-law.
Or Bill Shoemaker, maybe. Could make a case for that if there was a whip in his hand.
Exactly. Oh my god!
That's number 3, Arthur Ashe, cult leader.
Holy shit!
And that takes us to number 2, who is a man who takes his statues and monuments very seriously. And that was what made it such a sensation when his original home team issued a, let's say, controversial bust of him that really dominated the internet for a couple of years, though. And that is Ronaldo with his famous statue for Porto, which looked not so much like Ronaldo as Sloth from the Goonies. Looks like Ronaldo is said, "Hey, you guys!"
Oh, why are his eyes so close?
Like Sloth. I mean, look, I don't want to say things like birth defects or mentally challenged or whatever the word is you're supposed to say. But this, I mean, just the shape of his skull. And then again, this is a man who took this very seriously. Let's remind ourselves that Ronaldo is a man who spends $500 a month to send a hairstylist to Madame Tussauds to make sure that the wax figure statue there has his updated hair and eyebrows. So you can imagine Ronaldo did not take this statue well in the least, particularly as I don't know if I can even say the words that became the name of this statue. It's another word that starts with an R that we've come across in
say that word.
show, blended with Ronaldo.
It's
So you can imagine that Ronaldo did not react well.
Where is that hidden? Yeah,
it was unveiled at the stadium of Porto, his original club in Portugal before.
Does it stand somewhere? It's actually like
Man United. No, and let's remember, Ronaldo has had a lot of things to say about the Madame Tussauds thing. He had a statue issued, I believe, it might have been with Man United, but no, in his hometown, where he made a big deal about the size of his Johnson in the statue. So again, you can imagine Ronaldo did not take this one particularly. Dwayne Wade took it in a much better spirit of humor than Ronaldo took.
This is rough.
Yes, this.
Yeah, there can only be one number 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's
which clearly was the inspiration for this whole
it
list.
Was.
Yeah.
And let's just say, unveiled this week, number 1. Man, Dwayne Wade's not having a good
Even worse than the game.
The Chinese show.
Wow.
I mean, the Chinese sneaker deal. His wife being a total pain in the ass who doesn't even seem to work anymore. Like, when was the last time you saw her in a movie? That awful game show. And now this thing. Again, I don't know what this is, like hydrocephalic Dwayne Wade. Let's make your head 3 times bigger than it is in real life. And put you in a pose where it looks like you need to take a shit and are pointing out where in the bowl you're going to put it. And supposedly he worked with the people who made this.
Yes, that's the odd thing.
And like, it's a whole thing. What, were you constipated that week, Dwayne?
What the fuck?
The hell happened
with
this thing? Again, I have no idea what this, other than like, you're lucky this actually doesn't look much like you, because with that melon, you'd have killed your mother on the way out without doubt.
I mean, as the guy's doing this number on your face, where I mean, it looks like you're in one of these movies where they have you as some kind of ghost-like figure or whatever. But uh, how do you tell him, hey, you're a little off there,
Exactly.
Shlomo? I mean, no,
fuck is
who
this?
is doing it? And he's involved. Can't you see this is going, terribly wrong? I mean, what do you do? Is it like tattoo removal, where once you start, that's
I
it, you
would
better
normally,
finish?
I would say yes. But the pattern of the Wayne Lade's post-playing career seems to be a lack of discernment. I mean, I wouldn't think, yes, I would know that this statue is terrible, but I would have thought that you would know that you were designing the worst game show in history that nobody was going to want to watch.
You're not
That
wrong.
like TNT released to this huge fanfare and then immediately set to rain delays during Braves games.
Yes.
Was-
Yes.
It
So
looked like a
maybe,
tribute
like-
to Red Fox. This thing,
Like
didn't it?
maybe D Wade, his tastes are a little out there, I guess. I don't know.
Wow, very strange. Yeah, that was accepted by Wade himself, and that he was
weird.
aware that this was happening.
That he saw the way people reacted to it and followed up. No, I love it. I was there. The design.
Yeah, you owned it.
Oh, I mean,
You would
again,
never want to admit to that you actually were in on this fucking atrocity. That's unbelievable.
yeah.
Wow. I mean, how could they put that out there and have it? Even
Gonna stand in front of the arena.
it's not even a reasonable facsimile. I mean,
Who the fuck
you
is
would
that
never
guy?
recognize that as Dwayne Wade except for the uniform number.
I actually saw a good suggestion, which was to change the uniform number and claim the statue was a
Udonis
celebration.
Haslam, maybe.
No. Claim the statue was a celebration of the time Dion Waiters ate 15 gummies on the plane.
It looks more like waiters than it does Wade.
Tremendous professor as always.
That was
By
good.
the way, since we talked about reading newspaper and old people things, want to tell everybody the one that just flashed across my phone, my text message. If you'd like to feel old, college basketball season is getting ready to start, and the Cal basketball team features Stephon Marbury's kid and Peja Stojakovic's kid
Oh Jesus!
on the roster this year.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. All right. I thought you
Yeah,
were going to say
that's
those two guys
depressing,
were out there. Yeah. All right, Professor. Good stuff. Will we see you on the burial show coming up?
See ya.
Excellent. Yeah. We need some college football analysis for those people out
Finally
there.
heating up. He was 2-2 last week, but he's starting to get into his groove.
The logic's always there
Yeah.
with the professor. It's not like you're listening to the guy and saying, "Oh, what a fucking lunatic, just picking names out of a hat."
Picture
Yeah.
honest.
Knows his shit. I mean, it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go. How is it, though, that people are always in the fucking know, though, Lubie, except for us? Where everybody in the world was thinking that the Jets were going to win this thing. They looked like absolute shit in the first half. And they even had that guy Corley drop the ball through the end zone on what would have
Yes, and they still
been a
won.
touchdown.
I don't
So
understand
you
that.
not only you not only don't get the points, you immediately turn the ball over. I mean, it couldn't be any more punitive to have
Yeah,
a
that's
thing
for the
like that.
game.
I think that's a rule that actually needs to be examined, where the ball rolling through the end zone. I don't know. I mean, is there something they're
We hate
trying to
that rule.
counter?
I hate that rule. It should just
Yeah.
die where you let like that.
It goes to the other team. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't get that at all. It should just die.
Any other fumble that goes out of bounds.
Treat like an
But
out
it
of
rolls
bounds.
through the end zone. So what is the point of that? What are they trying to combat there?
Trying to
Keeping
make it
guys from
punitive.
doing what?
They're trying to make you not be a moron. Again, people. This has happened a lot. Like you would think people would stop doing this fucking thing. So they're trying to teach you to secure the ball. I get it, but
That's an old rule. I think. I don't think
100%
that was.
very old.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like who cares? Just put it down. On the
Unbelievable.
ball.
Yeah, I mean, I was amazed because I saw this play in a highlight. I wasn't watching the entire game,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, how is it possible that the Jets didn't then subsequently score anything?
Yeah.
And it's because they lost the fucking ball. I didn't realize it went through the end zone when I saw the first clip of the highlight. So, and great catch there by Garrett Wilson. Was he in bounds or was he out, Lubie? Did you see that?
I haven't seen them break it down. I just saw the catch and I saw that they said what a great touchdown grab. So I presumed that meant it was a touchdown. So I didn't get into breaking it down. It just didn't look like it was possible for him to get.
Yeah,
catch
no,
it.
it was a great catch, and
He had a knee in or
he
a
actually did get his 2 feet sort of in, but I think he landed out of bounds.
Something like a
before-
shin. They gave him credit for the shin, which I still don't understand how any of that works. Like
Yeah.
the knee, fine, feet. But when they're like the forearm, I'm like, the forearm? Like that's like a hand. The hand is down. Why is the forearm down?
Any sandlot I ever played in, if the ball hit the ground at all, if the ball touched the ground, it was no catch. These guys, well, he had his hands underneath it, and then you see the ball like slide along the ground, but the guy's still kind of grabbing on it. But once it hits the ground, whoosh, no catch, right, Lubie?
Yeah.
When did that change? And then you got all of these rules guys now breaking it down. They're all like 100 years old. Well, I don't know. You can't really tell there. Okay, great.
Well, then they're wrong half the time. They get really adamant about one side, and then the refs are like, nope, there's a catch. They're like, what? Yeah, okay.
Some of that is blind injustice also. So, yeah, we've seen that where they're just afraid to overturn a call, and you're looking at it, and it's pretty clear cut. But, yeah, more suspect, which it shouldn't be, than some of the stewards' inquiries that I've been disqualified out of mounds of cash in the course of my lifetime. And rarely does it work out in your favor. Once in a blue moon, it goes your way. All right, Lubie, we'll see you later on. And we'll be out at Gulfstream Park. Breeders' Cup race is going today. Some of the boys are out there at Del Mar taking in the Breeders' Cup. Nice. And Encinitas, have to say, I don't know. There was a forecast of rain supposedly for Saturday, which, is a little far out. But the pictures that were sent back by one Jersey Kyle Martinez, you could not have anticipated anything but the most splendid of days, my friend.
Southern California.
Ooh, man, did that look beautiful.
Desert. They don't get lots of rain.
We're starting to get there again here in South Florida. So
nicer, yeah.
November 1st already. Unbelievable. We will see you later on, 1 o'clock from 10 Palms Restaurant, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And until then, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.